You may have heard talk about a rental registry program in Worcester. It requires all property owners to register each of their units with the city. My name's Tom Matthews, and on this episode of The Buzz, I'll be talking to the city manager to find out all the details about the rental registry program and how it could impact the city. All right, Mr. Manager, first things first, what is the rental registry program?
So the rental registry program, it's an online system that allows property owners in the city who are renting their properties to register, list their name, list their contact information, whether it's an email, phone number, so that the city can access them and be able to connect with them when needed.
Okay, so who would the program apply to?
It applies to mostly any property that's being rented out, residential, commercial, industrial, religious organizations that are renting lots, etc., that are being rented. Even if it's a short term like Airbnb, or if it's a long term rental, as long as you're renting it and you're receiving an income from that rental, then you need to register.
So why is the city implementing a rental registry program now?
Oftentimes there's issues, situations, and even inspections that the Inspectional Services Department is trying to access, or even police or fire are trying to access property owners, and sometimes it's hard because there's multiple LLCs or different kind of shell companies that people use, or sometimes contact information is not updated. So it's a lot harder to connect with the owners. So this gives us an opportunity to connect with them, but then also it allows us to notify them when there's issues in the property, when there's situations that are happening in the neighborhood, things that we want them to be aware of, to know about. This is one way to connect with them and engage with them.
So it's not only just beneficial for the city, it can also be beneficial to property owners. What are some of the benefits that a landlord or a property owner might get from this?
I think one of the benefits is that when we're discussing to do repairs in infrastructure, when we're trying to, there might be a water main break, there might be an emergency on the property next to you, or there may be a situation where you're out of town, you're on vacationing, you're not around, and there's a tree that landed on your property or what have you, and we need to connect with the landlord. These are the ways that we can have access to be able to connect and also contact them of any either issues or proactive information that's going out to the community.
It's also a good way to let them know of any maybe grants or programs that they might qualify for to say, redo the facade of the building.
Yeah, it's all of that. It's creating a database that we can engage with them. Give them the information of grants, opportunities that the city's offering, any policy changes, any things that are coming up that they need to be aware of, that we need to provide them information up front. This allows us to do that.
Some people might think that this is just a money grab by the city. Why is there a fee and what will it go toward?
Yeah, so this is not a money grab for the city. Again, this is just a minimal fee, administrative fee on the properties that we have in the city. And the goal, again, is to try to save lives. It's to try to protect the residents of our community as well. There's been often times where there's been fire incidences and issues in a property or a roof collapse, and we're trying to find who the owners are. We're trying to make contact and let them know what's going on, etc. And oftentimes that's a big challenge for us. The commissioner have stated publicly that sometimes it requires, when we're doing the 110 inspections, which is trying to review our properties here in our city, sometimes it requires 80 to 90% of our administrative team just to find who these owners are and get contact information to try to engage them, to then go into the property and inspect the property. It's not like we're randomly going to be walking into the properties. This is all part of a process that will be contacted. Property owners will have to be on site for us to be able to engage and connect to these units. So again, it's a collaborative approach. It's not one that we're trying to just impose more fines.
Okay, so we mentioned the fees. So what are the fees to register for the program, and what happens if you don't?
Currently, right now, the fee, it's a $15 per unit for any residential, commercial, retail, or office units. And so, for example, if you own a 3-decker, it's about $45 total. For first time renew registration for a lot, it's $25. And then on a renewal basis, on an annual basis, it's $5 per unit. If you don't register, the fine structure that we had in place was $300 a day. This new amended ordinance that we've proposed changes that. It doubles the registration rate. For example, at a 3-decker, it's $45 for 3 units. So we double that times 2 at $90, and that would be on a monthly basis. So instead of $300 a day, we're going to $90 a month for a property that has 3 units. And it all depending on the number of units that you have. So if you have 200 units, you apply the $15 registration, you double that. And that would be the monthly fine for that particular property. Now, there's also been a conversation where people have said, well, why don't we have this on a paper form? Why don't we have this where people can come in and do it personally? We are trying to get as many people as we can to utilize the online system, because it is extremely difficult to be able to get hundreds of people to show up and do paper and then have clerical work having to input that into the system. So if we can get as many of those folks into the system by doing it online, it reduces the number of folks that are going to come in and do it manually or call in, and we're going to register for them. So again, we're working with all these properties. We want them to get the information as much as possible. We don't want them to feel like we're just, again, imposing another fees on them. This is a way for us to save lives and protect our buildings, our housing stocks, and also protect the landlord himself, him or herself.
Is there anything else that folks should know about the rental registry?
I just think people need to be a little patient. It's a new program. We just launched it. We're going to learn from it. We're going to understand it. But I think it's important. Many communities have in this type of program, not just in Massachusetts, but across the nation. And it's one way for municipalities to engage with the business owners and the property owners of this community. And so this is what we're trying to do. And I think it's going to be helpful, and it's going to be helpful in the long run for all of us.
Perfect. All right, Mr. Manager, thank you for taking us through the rental registry program, and thank you for tuning in. Head on over, give us a follow on all of our social media accounts, and head on over to worcesterma.gov to find out everything else that's happening in the city.